is Wendy.
And I'm Sharon.
And we want to welcome you to
God-Given Life.
Da, 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 da. Oh, it's fun being back here with you. And we are having a fantastic discussion on the Screwtape Letters, our favorite
number one.
Yeah, Mr. C.S. Lewis. We were just discussing about what a fascinating conversation we could have with him, with this book itself on letter one, like what it would be like to sit down with him and say, what did you mean by this? And I think his answer would be, don't make it too hard.
I agree with you.
Keep it simple, stupid. Right? Like he probably wouldn't use those. He'd say it much more intellectually, but it would come across as keep it simple, stupid.
Yes. That's the way we talk.
That's the way I talk. And my mama, well, I won't tell you what mama would say. But this isn't about mama. This is about C.S. Lewis's Screwtape Letters. Is it the Screwtape Letters or Screwtape Letters?
I think it's just...
It's got a the in front of it. That's called... I'm going to go into teacher face. That's called an article.
It is, isn't it?
The, a, and an. Those are articles, boys and girls. So that was free. I'm not charging for that.
You know, we need those reminders of parts of speech.
Those parts of speech. Yes, I love them. Okay. We are titling this, what should we do? And please let us know in the comments. Should we call this the Screwtape Letters for Dummies, or are we going for the Screwtape Letters for plain folk? Like, what should we call this? Because we are not getting theologically deep in this stuff, because we want to approach this the way C.S. Lewis intended, which was...
And satire.
Yeah, satire and simplified.
Simplified, yes, so that we can look at it and really understand that this is the way our life is.
Right. We're going to hold this thing up like a mirror and go, oh, there's me. So what Sharon and I are going to do is we just wanted to look at a couple of points where she read it throughout the week, I read it throughout the week, and then we wanted to come together and share with you all what just popped off the pages for us. And so sometimes what ends up happening, folks, and I just want to put this out there, make a confession. When you read it too much, there's too many rabbit trails that you can end up going down. And Sharon and I recorded this last week, and I went down so many rabbit trails of that C.S. Lewis would have puked in his grave. Let's start this thing. We've already read the letter. We hope you've already read the letter. If you haven't, stop it right here. Go read the letter or listen to John Cleese on YouTube. I can't promote that enough. And then come back and we'll pick up with those main points that jumped out to us. So Sharon, why don't you kick us off here? What was the main point that just jumped off the page for you?
Well, in his letter, he starts off with... he's got his patient, and the thing that really got to me the most was that he was talking about people no longer using reasoning. Mm-hmm. That they are able to, before, people used to look at something, you could accept that this is true.
Right.
And go from there, and you move forward and you're working on it. This is not the case anymore. And it felt like it was prophetic to me, because in this day and age, who knows what is real anymore? I mean, honest to goodness, you can look at something, you can take your phone and ask your little AI something, but do you know when it's having its little hysterical moment? Or has written its own article or whatever it does sometimes to prove its point? And I know that's a rare occasion, but my point is that the other thing in there was that there are so many distractions in this life, and he was talking about maybe 10 or 12 distractions of conflicting ideas that are coming into his patient's brain at any one time. Now, how many different conflicting things do we have in our brains at any given time in this day and age?
let's go back to something, because you hit on a major point within this, and that would be that people used to know what truth was.
Yes.
So even if you didn't understand what truth was, but then it was shared with you, the individual would change their life to fit that truth within it. Right? That's basically what he's saying here, is that there was a time, and this is Screwtape is writing, and he said there was a time when people would think through things when truth was presented to them, and now they don't, because the demonic realm has done a very good job on making sure people are set in their ways and cannot handle someone else's opinion. Now, I want to go into something with this, with you on this, and that is, when was there a time when people would change their thinking? Because I understand that argument, but when was this period in history when people would change their thinking, when they would hear a truth and they would embrace that truth and say, oh, I'd better align my life with this? Because I wanted to know, when was this? Because this was written in the 1940s, and C.S. Lewis is talking about that time period, but was it the 1800s? Was it the 1700s? Because there's a lot of history there when people didn't embrace truth. And I'm thinking, I go back to like, the world is flat. No, the world is round. Oh, well, you know what? And it was a big part of this was the church. The Catholic Church was saying, you know what? No, the world is flat, and we're going to throw you in prison and torture you until you say that the world is flat.
Yes.
You need to think like us. So when was this?
That's interesting. 'Cause
the Garden of Eden.
It had to have, yes. Because there are things that science doesn't even seem to be science anymore, as far as you create a hypothesis.
And you test it.
You test it. You have to have repeatable.
Right. Same conclusion every time.
Same conclusion.
And if it's not the same conclusion, then your hypothesis is off. So, yeah.
I haven't seen reason for a while, because even looking at the question of evolution, when we have so much science now that proves that it is absolutely not probable. There's no way.
It's got to be a theory.
Absolutely impossible.
Yeah, it has to remain a theory, because it's not provable and it makes no sense.
Oh, and you could ask AI, and the probability of something being created from ooze
or nothing
is not absolutely impossible.
Okay. Okay. So, someone is dinging us, and I don't know that I'm going to remove that because we're on a good point there. So we'll just say this. Hi, Selena.
Hi, Selena.
If she's listening to this in the next couple of days. Hi, Selena. What were we?
We were talking about
when was the time? Yeah, so like we're talking about evolution and the proof for that, and there's not, and so, but when you're talking to people, and that brings up a point when you're talking about jargon and such, that ideologies have been implanted in our heads since we were tiny little tots, and we tend to know the jargon.
Yes.
About evolution. And okay, I'm gonna give you an example of jargon. Millions of years ago, that's the very first jargon of evolution, is we have been trained to say, oh, when were the dinosaurs?
Millions of years ago.
Exactly. Who's saying 10,000 years ago, or 5,000, or 3,000, or hey, they were walking with man. So they've been here with us the whole time. It is not a popular theory.
It's not. And they have to hide evidence.
They have hidden the evidence, but it is there. And yet, and that reminds me of the story, because what you're talking about, not being able to align one's life with truth, when we hear it, in Texas, when they found the footprints of men and dinosaurs together, and I can't think of the town, but my husband's been there and he's seen them. When those were first unearthed, there was there were scientists there and archaeologists who refused to look at it and put their hands over their ears. They didn't want to hear what had just been found. And so they knew it was right there in front of them, and they turned and walked away from it because it didn't align with what they wanted the truth to be. So their world was shattered, but instead of aligning their life with this new truth that man and dinosaur walked together, they went la 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 la, no, right? And that's the world that we're living in.
Oh, yeah.
C.S. Lewis calls it very well through Screwtape here.
He does, and that's something that if we give up our reason, we've given up a lot. We've given up a lot.
And that's what he's put in here, is that we have given up our ability to reason, and institutions, instead of teaching us how to reason things out, only give us party lines. And I'm not talking just political. I'm talking about social party lines, political party lines, government party lines, the scientific party lines, where we're all supposed to conform to the party line, and we call it critical thinking, but in actuality, it's not critical thinking. It's you will tout the party line under the guise of critical thinking because you're now an intellectual and educated, and that's not what it is. You're not allowed to go outside, color outside of the lines there, or even look at God, because God's his way of thinking goes against party line, and that prevents people from embracing truth. So we've been trained that way, haven't we?
We have been trained that way.
So he makes a good point. Has it gotten worse since Lewis's time?
I think it's gotten worse because we don't have any more critical thinking. If we get triggered, we have safe rooms now that we can go to. In our feeds, we have, if you have your phone with anything that you've looked up, you know that AI is very carefully sorting things for you, so you don't have to look at anything else that might challenge your view.
Mm-hmm. Right. Research is gone.
It is.
I find it interesting as you mentioned AI a couple of times in this since we've started this. And it's interesting because AI, again, is being used for us to take away that critical thinking and reason. And it's interesting because we've talked about Satan and the demonic realm being counterfeit and using counterfeit things like love. It's not God's type of love, it's counterfeit. The Antichrist is the counterfeit of the Messiah. And reasoning, when God says in his scripture, come let us reason together. And so God gives that invitation to every man and woman to come and reason with him. And Satan goes, now let's remove that. Let's remove man's ability to reason with his God. Ooh, that's interesting.
And then we don't have any discernment. We're not being careful of what we're putting into our feed, and I mean into our brain,
and heart.
Even and these things that we do, and I've been guilty of this, of just having background noise. We got to be careful even of that background noise that we have on, because some of, even just the radio music is like,
right.
This is Christian radio music? What?
Have we had that discussion before?
Yes, we have. Just that false ideology and false doctrine in some of these songs now, it's like, I don't want that floating around in my head anymore.
Well, I think it comes up in this letter when there's a gentleman who's being still, and he's in the museum and he's being still, and Screwtape is giving an example of a patient that he had who was sitting in a museum, and he's having this train of thought, and because the demonic has been around for much millennia longer than you and I have, He studied human behavior, and he can see, he can't read thoughts, he can't
No.
read the mind, but he can study human behavior and see, wait a second, oh wait, this person is reasoning something out in their mind. And so he wants to put something in there to distract. And that's not what I want to talk about yet, but the idea that when a person begins to reason, and when the person is sitting still, Jesus says, be still. God says, be still and know that I am God. When that happens, you're going to get pushback on that. The letter is making it very clear. But we are not a people anymore who want to be still and listen. Be still and know. Look at our society, the way everybody's running around crazy. Nobody has time for neighbors or for family, for, the things that we fill our lives with. They're so distracting to us that we can't be still.
There's always that background noise. And if it's not literal, we can even have it in our own head about all the mundane things, all the things we have to get done.
The mundane, or the fear, or
Yes.
the worry. And so we can allow those things to take over as well. And we can drown out the voice of God, who's speaking to us, but we're so busy worrying and focusing on the other things that we don't see where God's working, or how he's wanting to calm us or draw us near to him. We don't allow it.
That happens. That can happen so easily, that moment of, like in the book, in the first letter, he just gets sidetracked completely by his earthly need,
His stomach,
his human need to eat, that he's
and
hungry.
I understand that.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm that way too with coffee. And I playfully say, well, I can't function in the morning before coffee. I have to at least have my first cup. And as a matter of fact, I go out for my walks in the morning. I've started walking with Heath and Jocelyn, and I can't leave the house before my first cup. I'm not a person who can just get up and start walking the neighborhood.
I can't even hardly talk to Ryan before I have my cup of coffee. I get up early enough that poor man does not have to see me before I have my coffee.
So it's a favor that we're doing for the population. But I do understand this idea of the stomach. And you're absolutely right. He is easily distracted by something as mundane and ordinary as lunch. And then it moves from lunch to the bus.
Yes.
Right? It's this and it's that, and it's the everyday things. And boy, I find it hard to believe all the ordinary things that we have in life that are really huge, but would have been huge back in Lewis's day, that are not, they're nothing to us. All the travel that we do, they didn't travel like we do, and yet we are constantly in our cars. We've constantly got that radio on. I mean, just think about it. They had very little TV, they had the radio, but they didn't have Pandora. And if I don't have Pandora, I have YouTube. And if I don't have that, I've got the FM radio. I mean, I have all of these options, and I can Bluetooth it, and I can, and we're talking about taking a trip in a couple of weeks, and it was like, okay, do we have the DVDs for the car? Are we streaming? What are we doing on that long car ride down? It's going to be a 10-hour car ride. 10-hour car ride. What are we going to do? We'd better get some videos or something to watch. Or you see what I'm saying, though, is that we need something to distract ourselves, or we're going to get on each other's nerves.
Yeah, I remember those long car drives.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But so that's interesting. So I'm sorry I took you back to the first point, and we kind of went into the second, is that we're no longer able to reason together, and that was mine too. But I kind of named mine practicality over truth.
Yes.
And I think Screwtape hits the nail on the head here. Humans used to be a people who could have the ability to change our mind, and we've lost that. And that's what you've brought up. So, in a world of postmodernism, though, which is, he was living in a world of modernism. For us, it's postmodernism. It's all about how I feel. And so, my truth is my experience and how that affected me and how I feel from the affection of that. And you can't convince me that I'm wrong because this happened to me, and therefore my truth trumps your truth. So there's not a standard of truth. And I was thinking about broccoli. You can tell me how beneficial broccoli is for my body and show me the data to prove it. But because I abhor the smell of broccoli and I abhor more the taste of broccoli, I argue that it's absolutely of no use to me. None. Broccoli has no value whatsoever. And obviously, your data, Sharon, because you're a broccoli lover, is flawed because you've got traditional thinking when you were told broccoli was good. So you fall back on tradition and what you traditionally believe to be true. And so anything traditional today is bad, right? Anything, all of that's thrown out of the window. That's postmodernism, is that your traditional stuff, whether it happens with government, we see things like socialism moving in our education, critical thinking, and especially anything relating to God and religion. Traditional's bad. So instead of being a Christian, I want to be spiritual.
And that's a totally different thing.
Right? And so you can't tell me that that's wrong because your traditional ideas just don't cut it anymore. But the newest philosophy is best, and broccoli is out, but marijuana is in. Okay, and I know I'm going overboard, but I'm making my point here. Marijuana is the newest bandwagon, and my body's never felt better than with marijuana. So if it comes between broccoli and marijuana, then I'm going to choose marijuana. Marijuana has no health benefits. It stinks. It alters my mind. And yes, it is a gateway drug, but marijuana is practical and everyone's doing it. It's legalized in many places. It might have medical practicality, and no one should be in prison. So this is where my reasoning kicks in. No one should be in prison for selling or producing or taking marijuana because it's a lightweight drug. And besides, again, my reasoning is that we can make lots of money by taxing it. So, like, marijuana is a win-win-win-win-win. So when we've brought practicality to the issue of right or wrong, by experience, the one that's most popular and the one that fits my lifestyle is going to take over, and practicality overtakes truth because marijuana is bad for you. Yes. I'm sorry. You can give me all of these things of why it's so awesome to take it, but marijuana over broccoli is not. That's just in the real world, doesn't hold up against one another. And we've bought this practicality in other issues, and I've used it, satirically with broccoli and marijuana, but we see that in the issue of abortion. We see it, this practicality over truth with abortion, evolution, lying, gender issues, and even things like the Palestinian-Israel Gaza stuff, where you can't get someone who's pro-Gaza to stand up and say the Palestinians going into Israel on October 7th, was it 2023? when they went in and did that, that was wrong. They will never stand up and say that the Palestinians were wrong to go in and slay 1,200 people.
No, they come up with, well, they made them do it.
Right.
They pushed them down to the point they had to do this.
Right, and it is a practicality. It's practicality over truth and reason, because anybody on the outside of this would be able to look at that and go, that was horrific. I don't care what was done. Men going in and raping children, raping women, kidnapping people, burning their homes, going into a music festival and murdering everybody, and then going into people's homes and seeing the screaming children, and it's horrific. And any
they refuse to even watch any of that stuff, though. They don't even know the chance that what they mean. The chance.
Greta Thunberg, or whatever her name is, when they tried to get into Gaza, right, with their little boat for humanitarian relief or whatever, and they were taken by the Israelis, and the Israelis treated them very good. The IDF treated them well and said, we would like for you to sit down and watch the video from the October 7th slayings, and we want you to see the aftermath. Sit down and watch this, please. And she refused to look at it. And that's exactly what we're talking about. Practicality over truth. And it doesn't matter what you say, I am not going to align my life with the truth that is in front of me.
It's like the people that, and we still have them, that are deniers of the Holocaust.
Right.
It's like, how can you deny something that's been documented by the people that were doing it?
Exactly. And yet there's reasoning. There's just so much ungodly reasoning in that. And
it goes all the way back, doesn't it? Because the devil has been against God's chosen people from the beginning of time.
Absolutely. And that carries over into Christianity as well, doesn't it?
He hates us.
And so he hates mankind.
He does.
But he especially hates those who are intended to unite their fellow men with God. And that was the intention of the Jewish people, was to be a light to the nations, to point them to God. And again, folks, that is what Christianity is about. We are to share the good news of Jesus Christ so that Jesus can unite people back with their Creator. That's the whole kit and caboodle. And that's why there's so much rage coming from Satan. But again, the subtle tactics is what we're reading about. Back to letter 1 here, this subtle tactic of how do we subtly manipulate the patient to never find his way to God.
And it doesn't seem like it's very hard at first, does it?
So
it doesn't seem like it's very difficult, but God has a plan, and he calls us to him. Mm-hmm. And there is always hope. But these letters make it very clear that there is a spiritual realm. And that is something I think C.S. Lewis was making clear to us, too, is that some people take it too seriously. Mm-hmm. Some people don't take it seriously enough. The church today doesn't necessarily say there is a hell.
Right.
They don't even fully acknowledge there's a devil.
So we're not putting truth out there.
No.
We're withholding truth.
And we are to be on guard.
Right.
We are to put on the armor of God, because he is stomping around like a roaring lion, just like it says in the Bible. Mm-hmm. And he is going to take every opportunity he can. And the more that you are trying to step up for Christ and speak out for Christ, the more likely he is to be stomping around your area.
Right. So we're coming up to the end of this. What's your conclusion on all of this?
I just found this letter so interesting that the things that he's talking about, that we are so easily distractible, that as a human being, we are easily distractible. We're not prone to reason.
Oh, right.
We are not prone to liking someone tell us our ideas are wrong. And this letter is just keeping that in mind for me, that I need to remember. You can sort through things when you're listening to things, and you know when you're hearing jargon, you know when you're hearing something that's completely made up now. But we have to use that discernment that we get when we live our life through Christ.
So as an unbeliever, what would you tell an unbeliever who has all of this ideology and jargon that they've been surrounded with all of their life?
There's a better way if they could just open their mind to the fact that God is the creator, that Jesus is the Savior. What's your conclusion on it?
Well, I think about like people that I love, that I would want them to know, because we all have loved ones who are embracing ideologies and such, and they're being blown about and easily distracted by the things of the world. And there are so many distractions in many different forms. And mine would have to be that there is a creator who wants them to know him. That we're all separated from God, but what Jesus did for us was he died on the cross so that we could be in relationship with God. And his ideologies are good. They're loving. His character is beautiful. He's the Almighty. And you never have to worry about whether what you're hearing is truth or a lie, because he is the complete truth. And he's never going to lie to you. I think the thing out of this first letter is that you can't trust anything that Screwtape is saying.
Exactly. And C.S. Lewis does bring that up.
And so he's going to lie to the other demons. He's going to lie to himself. He's going to lie to humans. He's going to lie to everybody, because he takes after his master, who is Satan, and Satan is a liar and a murderer from the beginning. So, and I think that would be my counsel to someone who's reading this as an unbeliever, is that, truly sit down and have that quiet time, be still, and ascertain whether you're being lied to or not. Ascertain if the things in your mind are conflicting with one another. If all of these ideologies, they don't quite fit, even though they're supposed to fit, they actually work against one another. So it doesn't make sense that you want to save the planet, but you wouldn't say, and you would save a turtle, but you wouldn't save a baby. Like like these are conflicting things. So there are these ideologies that just conflict with one another. So think those things out. Do they work together? Or maybe are you being duped and manipulated? God doesn't want to dupe and manipulate you. And one of the things that I have on the conclusion here, I've been studying all week about Jesus being tempted by Satan. And one of the things that Satan did was he tried to get Jesus focused on real life. You're hungry. Turn the rocks into bread, right? So you're hungry. You want power and control? Here's how to get it. But Jesus knew the folly of the enemy's thinking. And I can remember as a non-Christian being so manipulated and not realizing it. And all of that was intended to keep my focus away from God. I didn't know that at the time, but I can say that now. The point for me was to make sure that I couldn't hear the voice of God calling me and trying to reason with me. But the voice and reason of God did break through. And that's what I'm also seeing in this. The conclusion is that I found that urge to be alone with God and reason with him, even though I didn't know that's what it was called.
Yes.
And so if you're being pulled into that place of quiet and thinking and questioning, do not allow yourself to be distracted.
Exactly.
Go with it and come to your conclusion, because when I had that alone time and allowed those things to work in my mind and my heart, that led me to questions, and those questions led me to the Bible, and the Bible led me to Christ, and Christ is the one who led me to the Father. And you see, there's this progression there. And so Screwtape's protege is at work, but the Spirit of God is at work. He's not playing defense, he's playing offense. And I think that's what it is for me, is that as smart as we say these little demons are, you know who's much smarter? It's God.
He is. And he will never change.
No. So I have a Bible verse, because we haven't really hit the Bible verse, but I just wanted to share this. In Daniel 4:17, Nebuchadnezzar was talking about the dream that he had and such. And in the dream, he saw the holy ones were proclaiming in Daniel 4:17, the Most High rules in the kingdom of men. And Nancy Wolgemuth says it this way: heaven rules. And
Yes.
we've done her study. And so we remember that throughout these letters, heaven is still ruling. God is ruling over the affairs of men. God knows everything that's going on, and he knows what's in the hearts of men. And he can change our hearts and take out that heart of stone and give us a heart of flesh. And
I
that's the
think
hope.
we're an example of that, because
Yes.
we were.
Yes.
We did have a heart of stone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really.
Yep.
We were tough nuts to crack there, Miss Wendy.
Well, thank you so much for being with us this morning. We hope that you will continue with the Screwtape Letters.
That's right.
Next time we meet, we'll be on letter 2. So come back and join us. I'm Wendy,
And I'm Sharon.
and we want to ask you to go live your
God-given life.
Woohoo!